take your money, it breaks your mind. It's called digital arrest, and it's not just a fraud, it's a psychological warfare. Look at the numbers there. In 2024 alone, India saw 22 lakh cyber crime complaints. These are only the registered ones, remember. The total loss of money, 22,845 crore. But one story that has come today out of Hyderabad proves that some losses can't be measured in money. This is the story of a 76-year-old retired doctor, someone who spent her life healing others because the latest victim of this twisted scheme, she became that. It began with a very simple WhatsApp video call. On the screen was what looked like a Bangalore police logo. The voice on the other end was calm, official, authoritative. They told her that she was being investigated in a human trafficking case. Shocking, absurd, completely fabricated, but the performance, that was flawless. They showed her official-looking documents, complete with her Aadhaar number. They flashed logos from Supreme Court, RBI Enforcement Directorate. They even cited a law, the National Secret Act of 1923, which, by the way, does not even exist. And then the pressure began. Over the next 3 days, they flooded her video calls with different numbers, constant threats. They said her account would be frozen, her name would be ruined. She could be physically arrested as well. Now, she was 76, alone, terrified, and in her panic, she did what they asked. She transferred more than 6.5 lakh from her pension account, hoping it would all just go away. But it didn't. The threats kept coming. The fake notices, the fake officers, the relentless fear. And then on September 8th, the stress of it all finally took its toll. She collapsed with severe chest pain and died of a massive cardiac arrest. And here's the most chilling part. Even after her death, the fraudsters continued to message and call her phone. Her family has now filed a police complaint. Hyderabad Cyber Crime Unit is now investigating the charges. And what are the charges really in this case? Impersonation, forgery, extortion, criminal intimidation, endless, right? The police believe that this is the work of an organized digital arrest gang, cyber criminals who pretend to be authorities and use fear as their primary weapon. And the worrying part, it seems to be working. Because here's the thing, today's cybercrime doesn't always come with a suspicious link or a hacked account. Sometimes it comes as a uniform on a video call, a convincing voice, a terrifying lie. So, if you or someone you know gets a call from someone claiming to be from the police or a court or even a government agency, don't panic, don't pay, hang up and verify. Call the real agency, speak to someone you trust, report them. That doctor didn't deserve what happened to her, no one does really. Let her story today be a warning, not just about scammers and what they can do, but what a fear, unchecked, can really cost. So here's us urging all of you to stay alert, stay skeptical, and most of all, stay safe, because you don't want to be that next person. Let's take the story forward with our guest now to try and understand what could she have actually done differently. Joining us next is Sanjay Sahai, former IPS officer, cybersecurity expert as well. Mr. Sahai, in a situation like this, we've seen that the entire modus operandi is pretty straightforward. They look for people who are vulnerable. They look for people who get scared easy. They look for people who are largely alone and would perhaps then not share the story with somebody else or someone who could talk sense into them. But yet we hear of these cases week after week, day after day. Could you sort of, for anybody in that age bracket watching right now, what is your primary advice to them? That if you get a call from an officer, what is the first thing that you need to do?
See, primarily we are sitting on a digital arrest, which has slowly become a tinderbox, and I've been talking about it for nearly last 1.5 years. And somewhere in October last year, Prime Minister had also talked about, and he talked of caution and variety of other things. Before coming to the victims, I would like to suggest, and I've been suggesting any number of times, that all the numbers which belong to the government, more so the enforcement, investigative, and intelligence agencies, they should be whitelisted. When the call comes, it will say that it is coming from the government. The government has never thought it proper to do that. It can be done in a very, very easy manner. The second thing is regarding the mule accounts. So regarding mule accounts, nothing has been done. I think last year or sometime early this year, I was talking with RBI in a town hall event in Hyderabad. So there, what I was telling them that this digital onboarding has literally become a fake onboarding. See, our complete faith in digital systems, I think, is belying the actual reality. The actual reality is that we have a completely broken physical system, and that has been translated into an equally broken digital system. So we have 1.8 million mule accounts. Now, if the government knows of 1.8 million meal accounts, what have we done about it? What is happening in Cambodia and other places? So there's a different story. Now, when we come to this elderly, from a very, very traditional, conventional policing point of view, which we have done most part of our life before digital policing and all this cyber and all that entered, we used to make a list of elderly people, single or couples, because we had the threat that their house might be broken. Variety of other crimes could happen because of the level of vulnerability which they have. I think in an equally similar manner, now it is, I think it is uh, a mandate, or it is a requirement that the police visits them, talks to them, explains to them. I don't think any locality, if you take a police station, they will be having more than, say, few hundred of these elderly people. And these elderly people, they also interact with each other. So once they interact with each other, their lines of communication operate in the same group and in the same community, and it moves pretty fast. Rather than making only a caller tune, I'm not denying that caller tune might, or I don't know, might not have an impact. And what I have seen, most of the efforts made by the government, as far as the elderly, educated, and even people coming from bureaucratic background, so they have fallen into this trap. Now, with
No,
this
I
lady,
think
there are a couple of.
community policing is a great point, sir. But I also think that when it comes to cyber crime, it's got less to do with just knowing. So everybody knows about cyber fraud, everybody knows about digital arrest till the time it happens to them. It's very
No,
difficult in that moment
everybody
to
knows
sort
about
of
it.
point it out.
No,
I'd
I'll tell
see a
you.
lot of people who say this keeps happening, but they yet fall prey. But let me bring in Pawan Duggal at this point. Let me bring him in. He's a cyber law advocate and expert as well. Pawan Duggal, we have reported on so many cases of cyber crime, cyber fraud in the past. I've lost count of the shows I have done on it. But when this is the first time, perhaps, why the story shook me so much is because the first time it's taken away a life. Money, which you can perhaps lose and earn back, but life once lost is gone forever. How are we, despite all the campaigns, and Sanjay said that rightly, right? Despite all the collar tunes, despite the Prime Minister holding, talking about it, despite a lot of chatter about it, news channels reporting it, the numbers only going up, and the crime is only getting more intense. So how are we to tackle this?
I think we need to have a new mindset to deal with it. If we are going to use existing law to deal with it, then we are mistaken, because it's a broken house to begin with. And most of these new age crimes are not capable of being completely covered within the ambit of existing legal frameworks, whether it's the Information Technology Act 2000, whether it's the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. The reason for this is AI has brought in a completely new game-changing paradigm, which is now this new category of crimes called AI crimes. And these crimes are not distinctly coverable under the provisions of either the Information Technology Act 2000 or the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Unfortunately, at the time when I talked with you, India does not have a dedicated law on artificial intelligence, nor do we have a law either on deepfakes or on AI crimes.
But this is not necessarily AI or deepfake, Pawan Duggal. This is just a man impersonating.
Right, it's a man impersonating using technology. So to do it's basically it's nothing but electronic forgery. It's nothing but cheating by impersonation by using a computer resource. For that, you can definitely invoke Section 66D of the Information Technology Act 2000. But mind you, it's a minor offense. It's a bailable offense, punishable with 3 years imprisonment and 2 lakh rupees fine. So the deterrence does not exist. Now, this is a new case that's come in. A couple of months back, we had this lady who was a government officer in Uttar Pradesh. She came to know about something on deepfake. Fake information led to a heart failure and led to loss of life. This is the second episode that's come in this regard. Now, these episodes will keep on increasing. The fundamental question we have to ask is, who's going to be responsible? Can we not make the intermediaries responsible? Currently, we have a very soft touch approach on intermediaries thanks to the current interpretation under Section 79 IT Act. But I think the time has come. We will have to straddle them with more responsibility. We'll have to, of course, try to find out the original perpetuator. But then finding that is a problem because maybe the original perpetuator is not a human. Maybe it's an algorithm. Now, when Albania has now come up with a new AI minister in the form of AI algorithm being the minister, it's time that India should come up with some out-of-the-box thought processes, some new approaches on how to deal with these practical issues, because loss of life cannot be tolerated under any circumstances. And in a case like this, Section 66D of the IT Act hardly just does any justice to the gravity of the offense.
But Mr. Duggal, there's also a slight catch to the entire situation. In cases of, the law basically says that if you are willingly sharing the OTP, then it's on you, right? So if somebody were to scam me or coax me into sharing an OTP, or in all of these cases, what happens is the money is being transferred voluntarily. They are telling me, do it else. So in situations like these, the law is really flawed because they don't keep into account that this was done because there was a digital arrest or perhaps a gun to your head in a digital form.
Yes, the law is flawed, is broken, but the time has come for us to expand the horizons and interpretations of existing law. And for therefore, all these transactions which I do, but I do under the fear of a Damocles sword on my head, on fear, on potential retribution, that ought not to be considered as lawful consent. Because my consent was obtained by putting me into fear, into panic, by intimidating me. And that's not valid consent. Unfortunately, the current legal frameworks have not been drafted keeping things in mind. So when I lose money on these internet frauds or these other exercises, or when I'm becoming a victim of DeepSeek, I know I'm doing something wrong, but I'm doing it because I am fearing more consequences. I think that kind of conduct also needs to be brought under unauthorized activity, under unauthorized transactions. Banks need to be made responsible. Why are the banks being allowed to be mere spectators? What is the Reserve Bank of India doing in this regard? If we can actually, you can hold the whip for the banks to say, hold on, you will be responsible for the transactions and you please have a waiting time. So to that extent, you can start giving some breathing space to potential victims. But ultimately, you will have to go for more capacity building. Law comes in far more later. You will have to sensitize users. The time to say no is now. The time to exercise your veto by disconnecting the call on your mobile is now.
I think there is no one solution to this. It can't be just buyer beware. It can't be just put on me as a citizen to ensure that I don't fall prey. And there has to be a stricter law that comes in place, and that's very clear. I have last few seconds to sort of get in Sanjay Sahai as well on this point. Sir, every time I hear of a cyber fraud, I feel like they feed on ultimately human emotions, fear of being isolated, of being put through something. They're ultimately feeding into human emotions. And like I said, they look for soft targets. beyond just community policing, which, let's be honest, we don't have enough people to do, what else can people do at their end, or what else can police start doing?
As far as what the police needs to do, first and foremost, I'll talk about digital policing and the capability of digital policing of the Indian police is certainly suspect. Let me tell you one simple thing that 98% of the transactions today happen in the digital world, but the police 98% is moving in the physical world. So that is one part of the story. The other part is the nature of control which police has on all the other stakeholders of cybercrime. And the other very serious stakeholders are the telecommunication companies and the banks. The telcos, they can issue 500 SIMs on one number or on one person, there are 500 SIMs and 1.8 million mule accounts. I have been repeating over and over again that the incapability of the police handling these stakeholders. Now, if the police finds out that there are mule accounts, what do they do about it? They go out to the bank, but the banks don't respond. I can give you at least 5 business scenario tweaks in the core banking software that will be able to settle out at least 40-50% of the issue. And however much we talk about community policing, whether it is delivered, not delivered, whether it has capability or not capability to do, it is primarily the incapability of the police to reach a level where they're not able to communicate. They have not tried. Plus the intelligence enforcement and other agencies collaborating together and intelligence being brought to the outside world. Even we don't have a list of numbers which have been used for all this. And Airtel keeps sending calls where it says it is spam. But for the digital arrest calls, rest all are spam. When there is a digital arrest call, it goes fine. And that advertisement we are allowing to go on the national media. So it is a multi-headed dialogue.
I think both from a police perspective and a law perspective, since we have Pawan Dugal and Sanjay Sai both, it's very clear that the law seems to be flawed on both ends and we are way behind in trying to catch up with it. I think an urgent need of the hour is to address it, to change the law, and also to sensitize our police forces for it, sensitize the society as well. And either one of them not falling through will just, again, lead to a fractured sort of situation here. Thank you both for joining us on this very, very sort of important discussion. All right, some updates coming in. The father of Captain Sumit Sabharwal, who was one of the pilots in the ill-fated Air India Dreamliner, has now demanded a formal investigation by the central government. In a letter to the Civil Aviation Secretary and the AAIB Director General, the 91-year-old Pushkaraj Sabharwal said that the selective leaks about the accident have led to speculation that Sumit was under tremendous psychological pressure and therefore was contemplating committing suicide. Now, he is saying this entire leak sort of tarnishes his son's image and he's appealing against it. Now, let me break that open. My colleague Sumit Bharadwaj joins us for more. Amit Bharadwaj joins us for more details on this. Amit, I can only but wonder the plight of a 91-year-old fighting and taking this escalating matters only to keep the reputation of his son intact.
Which has been shot by the 91-year-old Pushkaraj Sabharwal, the father of, Captain Sumit Sabharwal, who was one of the pilots on the ill-fated AI 171. Yet again brings back the concern of the families of crew members and more so for the pilots, because we had seen as to how the selective stories done, particularly in international media houses, were making innuendos that possibly, these pilots were at fault, and the attempt was to pin the blame on the two pilots, Clive Kunda as well as Captain Sumit Sabharwal. But now the father of Sumit Sabharwal has written a letter to the senior official at the Civil Aviation Ministry seeking a formal inquiry, which will, in a way, under Rule 12 of the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, and that would have an independent Supreme Court judge as well, retired Supreme Court judge, investigating into the entire matter. However, having said that, the investigation or the preliminary report which is issued, which is released in public domain, is never to put the blame on any individual for the crash. Rather, it brings to the fore only the specific details of the crash as to when did it happen and what could be possibly the primary reason. What happened in this particular case, selective text from the conversation regarding
Correct.
the fuel control switches
Correct.
were actually put out of context. Back to you.
All right, Amit, thanks so much for that update. Like we said, one can only imagine the plight of the 91-year-old who's now, after having lost his son, is fighting for his reputation. All right, moving on to the big health story we are tracking here on 5 Live. Indian patients often wait years after global approvals to access breakthrough therapies. This is because only 4% of Indians are represented in clinical trials globally. Roche has set up now 10 Indian government hospitals to ensure drugs and vaccines that are made in India also represent Indians. My colleague Milan brings you this report.
India accounts for 17% of the world's population and 20% of the global disease burden. Yet, fewer than 4% of global clinical trials are conducted here. There is a gap, and Roche, a pharma company, is helping India address it.
When we talk about diversity and representation somewhere, we are the backyard of the pharmacy of the world. Yes. But we rarely have that kind of representation in the world pharmacy when you look at it the other way, right?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. I would answer this in 2 ways. So it's important for India, like any other country, to be well represented or fairly represented in global trials, simply because we contribute 17% of the global population, 20%, more importantly, when you come to pharma research, 20% of the global disease burden. So there should be this proportion of Indian patients in trials. Now, what we try to do is to make sure that these centers are able to then do justice to the patients who are coming by then providing them this capability to be able to do global clinical trials.
But clinical trials in India have long struggled with mistrust. Moreover, it's a real struggle to get Indians to agree for a clinical trial.
When I put on the hat of industry, we want trials to be done well and to the extent possible also without compromising safety and standards, also as fast as possible. And it's not easy to find the kind of volume of patients that good centers in India has in other parts of the world. So that's another reason why, as a sponsor, as a pharmaceutical company invested in R&D.
The US ranks number 1 with maximum trial registrations, followed by China, India, and then comes Japan. However, as per population, the USA tops the list, while India comes 4th with only 53 people who participate in trials per million people. The ecosystem for good phase 3 or 4 clinical trials, which are key stages, is missing. Roche says it is working with trusted public hospitals to change that.
We need to make sure that the trials that we have is representative of the patients who are going to get, and we've realized that we need the data to be able to make sure that the health outcomes are impacting, and we maximize the health outcomes for all our patients. So the focus in India it's not new. It is just something that we are now able to apply this to the need in the public hospitals, where we see that there is a large amount of patients who go there, but there is not that many trial opportunities. And so we're building the capability in these hospitals to do more clinical trials.
At PGIMS Rohtak, one such partner site for CT investigations, Dr. Savita Verma and her team are part of Roche's clinical trial program. They are also currently working on clinical trials for India's first dengue vaccine.
we are part of the ICMR project on dengue vaccine trial. It is still in the middle phase, like the trial started last year, and we have a 2 years follow-up. So only, I think after, it will take around 1.5 years to generate that data which is required. So the recruitment has been completed recently. So, but there is a 2 years follow-up.
The focus is on 5 disease areas: oncology, ophthalmology, neurology, immunology, and cardiovascular and metabolic disorders. With Milan Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.
Important story over there, one that India needs to really step up on. But with that, we're going to slip into a very quick break. Coming up on the other side, we've got some inspiration for you. Now, what do you picture when I say a 70-year-old grandmom? Probably somebody who sits in front of a mandir or perhaps is doing some puja. But guess what? Leave that picture out of the way, because on the other side of this very quick break, we are going to introduce you to the 70-year-old who lifts. There you go. They're on your screen right now, and we want to find out everything from her and her son on what's got them powerlifting and inspiring India in this massive way. Stay tuned. That's coming up on the other side of this very quick break.
जैसे चाहूं गाड़ी चलाऊं, तिरछी या फिर आड़ी चलाऊं, रेड लाइट जंप करता जाऊं, ट्रैफिक रूल्स को ठेंगा दिखाऊं, क्या कर लेगा ट्रैफिक वाला, मेरा बात है पैसे वाला, मेरे रास्ते जो कोई आए कर दूंगा मैं जिंगा लाला, मेरे को अब कोई टोकना नहीं, मन मर्जी से मुझे रोकना नहीं, मुझे समझाना मत कोई रूल वूल, ये है मेरा स्टाइल, मैं हूं बंदा कूल, मेरी मर्जी। रॉन्ग साइड में मैं गाड़ी घुसाऊं, हेलमेट फेंक के बैक मिरर में बाल लहराऊं, ट्रैफिक वाला रोके तो मैं तेज भगाऊं, साइलेंसर हटा के खूब शोर मचाऊं, ट्रिपलिंग भी करूंगा जिसमें दम है वो रोक, हॉर्न भी बजाऊं ऐसे कान दूं फोड़, पॉल्यूशन कराऊं नहीं खूब मचाऊं गंद, चलती गाड़ी पे मोबाइल न करूं बंद, मुझे कोई रोको नहीं, मुझे कोई टोको नहीं, मेरा टशन देख के कोई भी चोको नहीं, मेरी मर्जी। एकड़ी निकल जाए ऐसा होगा फाइन, ऐसा फटका लगेगा उतर जाएगी वाइन, खुद की लाइफ को डेंजर दूजे को भी थ्रेट, ट्रैफिक रूल्स तोड़ने के देख ले बेटा रेट, आगे तेरी मर्जी।
To know more about India Today's Gross Domestic Behavior Survey, log into gdb.indiatoday.in. Powered by Adani.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
Hi, here are the top headlines. Presented by Motorola. PM slams Pakistan from MP, says India not afraid of nuclear threats. Patna High Court orders Congress to remove AI video on PM Modi's mother. Terrorist Masood Ilyas admits Masood Azhar planned Delhi-Mumbai attacks.
India Today Conclave 2025. September 25 and 26, Mumbai. Book your seat now.
Ram Charan met with Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah in Mysuru on his cordial invitation. The meeting took place as the actor was in the city for the shooting of his film Petti. The meeting occurred amid a brief pause in the film's production schedule due to the demise of Allu Kannada.
आज 17 सितंबर को एक और ऐतिहासिक अवसर है। आज ही के दिन देश ने सरदार पटेल की फौलादी इच्छा शक्ति का उदाहरण देखा था। भारतीय सेना ने हैदराबाद को अनेकों अत्याचारों से मुक्त कराकर उनके अधिकारों की रक्षा करके भारत के गौरव को पुनः प्रस्थापित किया था। हमने भारत की एकता के प्रतीक इस दिन को हैदराबाद लिबरेशन डे के तौर पर मनाने की शुरुआत की है और आज हैदराबाद में बड़े शान से लिबरेशन डे का कार्यक्रम भी किया जा रहा है। हैदराबाद लिबरेशन डे हमें प्रेरणा देता है। मां भारती की आन बान शान से बड़ा
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
So sorry.
देखो देखो है शाम बड़ी सुहानी, लिखेंगे हम मिलकर नई कहानी। मौका है, दस्तूर है, शानदार नजारे हैं, पार्टी में गठबंधन के साथी सारे हैं। चख लो केक सभी मिलकर, जश्न मनाए सब खुलकर, बस ये पार्टी है पार्टी है पार्टी है। All my friends come on let's celebrate and say happy birthday. All my friends come on dance and sing and say happy birthday. शाम गजब की चेहरे पे तेज है, नीतीश बाबू का अजब सा क्रेज है। शाह योगी है स्माइल वाला फेस है, चंद्र बाबू भी है, चेहरे पे ग्रेस है, चिराग मुस्कुराए मध्यम मध्यम, मांझी जी का जलवा नहीं कम, साथ में सारे हैं, चखलो केक सभी मिलकर, जश्न मनाए सब खुलकर, बस ये पार्टी है पार्टी है पार्टी है। All my friends, come on let's celebrate and say happy birthday.
So what do you picture a grandmom doing at 70? Maybe some morning puja, taking care of grandkids, maybe an occasional satsang, maybe even a gentle yoga class. Well, get ready to toss that image out of the window, because the grandmom you're about to meet now doesn't just chant mantras, she's deadlifting her body weight and much more. She's got silver hair and a spine of steel, quite literally. And she's proving one rep at a time that strength has no expiry date. She's not your average nani and dadi. She's the weightlifting warrior in a sari and suit. Let's welcome Roshni Devi Sangwan and her son, who's also a professional fitness coach, her personal guide, Ajay Sangwan, on the program. Namaskar, हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया. रोशनी जी, जब हम 70 ईयर ओल्ड्स की बात करते हैं तो डेड लिफ्ट करते हुए लोग तो ध्यान में बिल्कुल नहीं आते हैं. तो सबसे पहले मैं जानना चाहती हूँ कि आपकी ये पूरी जर्नी शुरू कैसे हुई? कब पहली बार आपने डंबल उठाया था अपने हाथ में?
मेरे घुटनों में दर्द होने लगा था, तो डॉक्टर के पास गया तो डॉक्टर ने फिजियोथेरेपी कराया और एक्सरा कराया तो वो बोले आपका गठियावा हो गया. उसके बाद तीन चार महीना फिजियोथेरेपी करवाया तो बेटा बोले मम्मी फिजियोथेरेपी से कोई हल नहीं होगा, आप जिम चलो. मैं को जिम है? इस उम्र में कौन जिम जाता है भाई, 2-4 हड्डी से ये टूट जाएंगी. तो बेटा ने बहुत कोशिश करी कि नहीं मम्मी चलो चलो. तुमको इतना कह ऐसा चलो एक दिन जाके देख की था वहां. तो 1-2 दिन तो मैं ऊपर से नीचे, ऊपर को चढ़ी नीचे तक आ गई. फिर धीरे धीरे बेटा लेके गया तो दोपहर में लेके जाता था मेरे को. तो दोपहर में मेरे को धीरे धीरे करवाया, जैसे 5 किलो उठाया, फिर 10 किलो उठाया, फिर 20 किलो उठाया, फिर 40 किलो उठाया, फिर 60 किलो उठाया, फिर 110 किलो उठाया. तो ये मेरा हुआ फिर शुरू में.
तो आपने पहले जिंदगी में कभी कोई एक्सरसाइज, जिम वगैरह किया था कि ये पहली बार है आप जिम में गई हैं? और कितने समय में आपने 110 तक की जर्नी कर ली?
नहीं, कभी नहीं गए थे. बचपन में कभी, जवानी में कभी जिम देखा ही नहीं. ये तो बुढ़ापा में ही देखा था जिम, तो कभी गए ही नहीं. कभी सोचा ही नहीं था जिम में जाएंगे.
हाँ.
तो
और अब आप देखिए, अब आप रोइंग कर रही हैं अपने बेटे के साथ. अजय इज ऑल्सो विद अस. अजय, यू हैव सम गट्स, आई हैव टू से. एट दिस एज जो बच्चे होते हैं ना, वो माँ बाप को बोलते हैं अरे आप मत करिए, अरे आप बैठ जाइए, अरे आराम से करिए. और आपने तो उल्टा कर दिया है, आपने उनको वेट्स थमा दिए हैं. तो इसका रिएक्शन कैसा था? आपकी माँ, उन्होंने तो आपकी बात सुन ली, आस पड़ोस वालों ने कुछ नहीं बोला?
एक्चुअली इतना आसान नहीं था ले जाना, पर जब पहली बार डॉक्टर ने, हमने अल्ट्रासाउंड कराया, एमआरआई कराया, पता चला कि इनके लेफ्ट नी में ऑस्टियोआर्थराइटिस हो चुका है और इनके लोअर बैक में इंजरी है. तो डॉक्टर ने जब कहा, वो बातें मुझे आज भी याद है कि माता जी अब उम्र हो गई है, अब आपको आराम करना चाहिए, सत्संग जाइएगा, थोड़ा पार्क में घूम लीजिएगा. तब मैंने डिसाइड किया था कि डॉक्टर तो डिसाइड नहीं करेगा कि मेरी मम्मी को क्या करना है, और उनके हिसाब से तो उम्र हो गई है, अब आराम से बैठिए, टीवी देखिए, सत्संग सुनिए, अब आपका काम ओवर हो चुका है, अब रिटायर टाइप्स. तब मेरे दिमाग में था कि मुझे, क्योंकि मैंने बहुत देखा है कि वेट ट्रेनिंग, एक्सरसाइज, स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग जो है इंडिया के बाहर का कॉन्सेप्ट है. शुरू में जब मैंने इन्हें कहा कि जिम चलेंगे तो मतलब ये शौक होगी कि जिम इनके लिटरली वर्ड्स थे कि इस बुढ़ापे में बुढ़िया के 2-4 हार्ट बचे हुए हैं, वो भी तू तुड़वाएगा। मैंने कहा चल के देखिए। प्रॉब्लम सेकंड ये थी कि जिम में कभी ये गए नहीं और सूट में ही रहते हैं, इन्हें इसी में अच्छा लगता है। तो जब गए ऊपर तो थोड़ा सा क्राउड था, तो वो देख के शीशे में पता चल जाता है कि एक दूसरे को टोन टाइप सा कि देखो इस उम्र में कौन आ गया क्या कर रहा है, तो इन्हें ऑकवर्ड सा लगा। फिर मैं इनको दोपहर में लेके जाता था जब 1-2 हो, कोई ज्यादा ना हो। मैंने कहा आप मेरी तरफ देखिए, क्योंकि वो 4 लोग ना पहले मिले थे ना वो आगे मिलेंगे। प्रॉब्लम आपको हुई थी और मुझको हो रही है, आप किसी की मत सुनिए, मेरी तरफ देखिए। बहुत धीरे धीरे फिर इन्होंने कहा कि चल मैं ट्राई करती हूँ। फिर धीरे धीरे इनको बेसिक मैंने शुरू कराया, फिर इनको 1.5 साल लग गया। अब ये 110 केजी के ट्रैप बार डेडलिफ्ट कर लेते हैं, लेग प्रेस कर लेते हैं। वो जो डॉक्टर थे अब वो सब इनके फैन है कि माता जी आप तो एक्सेप्शनल है। इनका हार्ड वर्क है, डेडिकेशन। जी
You're right, ये जी बताएं रोशनी जी।
जी प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इनकी एक राइट हैंड की उंगली कट गई थी 20 साल पहले, जिसकी वजह से उंगली मुड़ती नहीं है। हर उसमें 3 फिंगर से उठाते हैं। प्लस में इनका राइट शोल्डर का मसल टीयर है उसी की वजह से। प्लस में दोनों आंखों में मोतियाबिंद का ऑपरेशन हो रखा है। प्लस में इनके हिप जॉइंट में प्रॉब्लम है, राइट में लोअर टेल बोन में प्रॉब्लम है, बाकी सब ठीक है। तो ये कर रहे हैं इस उम्र में, तो एटलीस्ट लोगों को इंस्पिरेशन इसलिए भी ज्यादा मिल रही है कि इतना फिजिकली मतलब प्रॉब्लम होने के बाद भी रोज जिम जाते हैं। अब इनको एडिक्शन हो गया है, जिम नहीं जाए तो ना अजीब सा लगता है। एक दिन तो इनको 103 बुखार था। मैंने कहा आप क्या करना है, वो आराम कर लेते। कह रही नहीं मैं थोड़ा तो कर लेती। सोचा तो घर आके चेक कराया तो इनको 103 बुखार। मैंने कहा क्यों है, कह रही मुझे लगा मैं थोड़ा तो कर ही लूंगी।
तो मुझे रोशनी जी ये बताइए कि क्या बदल गया है, क्यों आपको लगता है कि 103 बुखार में भी जिम जाना चाहिए? आई नो एक फिटनेस, आप एक जो फिटनेस जर्नी पर होते हैं तो वो जो यू नो जो हैप्पी हार्मोन सिक्रीज होते हैं, हम लोगों को तो ऐसा लगता है, पर आपको ऐसा क्या है कि आप 103 बुखार में भी जिम जाती हैं?
मेरे को एक दिन छोड़ना जिम अच्छा नहीं लगता। मैं सोचूं कि रोज जा, मेरे को रोज जिम करना अच्छा लगता है। 2-2.5 घंटा रोज की जिम करना मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लगता है।
अब इनके हैप्पी आवर्स जिम के ही लगा लीजिए कि इन्हें जिम में ही तू कर ये बहन कर, घर पे रह के क्या करेगी। तो संडे वाले दिन को एक रिग्रेट रहता है, जिम बंद रहता है कि संडे वाले दिन भी चलते हैं, पर संडे वाले दिन जिम बंद है तो उस दिन आराम कर।
Happy hours at the gym. Now that's a great line to sort of deal with. But अजय, हम इस समय बहुत ही इंस्पायरिंग स्टोरी है आपकी और आपकी मॉम दोनों की। बट ये जो लोग देख रहे हैं, मैं एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ये अंडरलाइन करना कि अगर आप ऐसी उम्र में लिफ्टिंग शुरू कर रहे हैं तो प्लीज़ सुपरविजन के अंदर करें। प्लीज़ इंश्योर करें आपके साथ कोई है, क्योंकि ये गलत करना बहुत काउंटर प्रोडक्टिव हो सकता है। इनफैक्ट किसी भी एज में रेजिस्टेंस ट्रेनिंग या वेट्स करना बहुत ही आपको ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स दे सकता है। तो प्लीज़ सुपरविजन के अंदर करें, पहले मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ। पर मैं रोशनी जी से जानना चाहती हूँ, रोशनी जी आप इतनी फिट हैं, आप खाती क्या हैं? ये दुनिया भर के लोग तो आजकल यंग लोग प्रोटीन पाउडर पीते हैं जिम जाकर, आपका प्रोटीन कहाँ से आता है?
मैं डाइट लेती हूँ, सुबह जूस बना के पी जाती हूँ ओट का। हाँ। ओट बादाम किशमिश को जूस बना के पी के जाती हूँ दूध के साथ।
ओके।
और फिर वहां जाके
ओट्स का शेक बनाते हैं, ओट्स, सीड्स, ड्राई फ्रूट्स, इन सब का मिला के मिल्क के साथ ये एक शेक पी के जाते हैं अपना प्री वर्कआउट मील तक।
हाँ।
और एक्सरसाइज के बाद फिर क्या खाते हो?
एक्सरसाइज के बाद प्रोटीन देता है बेटा मेरे को। उसके बाद दोपहर आती हूँ तो थोड़ा सा चावल, दाल और दही, सलाद, और शाम को एक मूंग का चिल्ला बना के खाती हूँ।
पर रोशनी जी, ये थोड़ा सा कितना होता है आपको बताना पड़ेगा। ये पोर्शन कंट्रोल जो पूरी दुनिया कर रही है उसको बताइए, पोर्शन कितना होता है?
इतना चावल, 1 कटोरी दाल, हाँ, और 1 कटोरी दही और सलाद, हाँ, ये दोपहर को खाती हूँ मैं। और शाम को 1 गिलास दूध, 1 चिल्ला और 1 कटोरी दाल। ये मेरी
सिर्फ 1 चिल्ला और 1 गिलास दूध?
हाँ, और 1 कटोरी दाल।
1 कटोरी दाल। वो अजय, यू आर नॉट पुटिंग हर, so she's a vegetarian, that means?
जी, hardcore vegetarian. She's hardcore vegetarian. So that's the reason I include protein supplement in our diet. बस इतना ही खाना है, इसी में एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हैं, लिफ्टिंग कर रहे हैं, फिजिकली बहुत फिट है। पहले तो इनका कंधे की वजह से हाथ ऊपर नहीं उठता था, मूवमेंट ऐसे रहता था कि पकड़ के नीचे करना पड़ता था। अब हाथ का मूवमेंट इतना सही हो गया कि डॉक्टर भी सरप्राइज है कि बिना ऑपरेशन के, उनको तो सबको ये था कि ऑपरेशन कराइए आप कंधे का, अब वो सरप्राइज है, अब वो खुद कहते हैं भाई माताजी को ऑपरेशन की जरूरत नहीं, इनका तो ऐसे ही सही चल रहा है।
माताजी को ऑपरेशन नहीं, मोटिवेशन की जरूरत है। आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट द स्टोरी ऑल अबाउट। बट व्हाट एन इंस्पायरिंग स्टोरी। She's more than 70 years old. She's doing deadlifts. For those of you who don't understand weights at all, deadlifts is actually pulling up that entire weight of 110 kg that she does at this age. This is a journey of just 1.5 years. But of course, like we said, this comes with riders, which are very important to underline here. Please, if you're ever trying it at whatever age, do it under proper supervision. And that's the only way to go about. But what a story. 2 years back, she couldn't lift her hand, and now 110 kgs feels like a game for her. Just watch that video. She's got her posture correct, she's got her breathing technique right, and there she goes. Her son there, who's her personal physical trainer, telling us that this all started after the doctor said that, listen, you got to sit back and do what old people do, but this is what old people should be doing now. रोशनी जी, आखिरी कुछ चंद मिनट हैं आपके साथ। एक तो मज़ा आ गया आपसे बात करके आज। आई थिंक आपको देखकर, आपकी उम्र पे आप जो करती हैं वो करके अब यंग लोगों को भी इंस्पायर होना पड़ेगा। तो जो लोग आपको इस समय देख रहे हैं, जो कुछ और जो महिलाएं देख रही हैं आपकी उम्र की, हमारी दादी नानी की उम्र की, जो साड़ी पहनती हैं, सूट पहनती हैं, उनको लगता है ये जिम विम तो हमारे तरीके का नहीं है, जिनको हर रोज़ डॉक्टर कोई बता देता है नी रिप्लेसमेंट, कोई बोलता है एल्बो रिप्लेसमेंट, हिप रिप्लेसमेंट, जो भी काफ़ी दुखी है, उनको आप कोई मैसेज है आपके पास?
मैसेज ये है ना कि भाई जिम नहीं तो अपना घर में एक्सरसाइज करो, पार्क में करो, कहीं ना कहीं करो, थोड़ी घनी एक्सरसाइज करे बिना तो आपकी बॉडी ठीक रहेगी ही नहीं। एक्सरसाइज जरूरी है, एक्सरसाइज जरूरी है।
और मुझे लगता है आपकी स्टोरी से बहुत अच्छा इंस्पिरेशन है कि किसी भी उम्र पे शुरू करी जा सकती है। हमारी बॉडी इतनी ब्यूटीफुल है कि किसी भी उम्र पे शुरू कर सकते हैं आप।
उम्र की कोई नहीं होता, जो इंसान ठाम लेता है कि ये काम करना है तो करके ही दिखा दे, उम्र कोई नहीं होती।
और प्लस कपड़े मायने नहीं रखते हैं, आप सूट में भी चले जाइए, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, आप एक्सरसाइज रहिए, फिटनेस जो है वो फर्स्ट है। जिम के अटायर अलग कपड़े खरीदने हैं, आप चले जाइए। अब तो आपके पास मॉडल है कि एग्जाम्पल है कि देखो वो भी सूट में कर रही है तो भाई आप भी कर सकते हैं। वो 70 की उम्र में कर रहे हैं, आप एटलीस्ट 50-60 साल की उम्र में अपने आपको डिमोटिवेट मत करिए। एक है इंस्पिरेशन, उनको देखिए एटलीस्ट घर से बाहर, क्योंकि हमारे कल्चर नहीं है बुजुर्गों के साथ जो है ना एक्सरसाइज का। और फीमेल और एल्डरली पीपल के लिए तो मस्ट है स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग करना।
करेक्ट। सो बहुत सारे टैबूज हैं जो आपसे बात करने पर आज टूटे हैं। पहला कि महिलाएं वेट्स नहीं करती, दूसरा कि ओल्डर महिलाएं वेट्स नहीं करती, तीसरा कि सूट पहनने और साड़ी पहनने वाली महिलाएं वेट लिफ्टिंग नहीं करती, और चौथा जो सबसे अच्छा रहा है कि अगर डॉक्टर बोले नहीं होएगा तो ज़रूर करके देखो, अगर सुपरविजन सही है तब। So thank you, Roshni ji, Ajay, for sharing your story with us, for inspiring us. I'm going to go after this bulletin and go hit some weights as well. This is truly, truly inspiration. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, and keep at it.
Thank you.
What a story over there. If that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. But all right, let's leave you now with another story. It's a trend check that we've got for you here on 5 Live. The visuals of Donald Trump's ongoing visit, in fact, let's bring you an update over there. The visuals of Donald Trump's ongoing visit to United Kingdom, where he's been given a ceremonial guard of honor, along with the ruling monarch King Charles at the Windsor Castle, and this after having earlier proceeded to the castle in the ceremonial marriages as well. Enjoy these visuals. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.